Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Disciple Makers podcast. And man, I am incredibly excited about the guest that we have today. We've got Chip Pugh, who has been a long-term friend of Discipleship.org. He had launched and led a ministry called Be One, Make One, and is now working with the Tennessee Titans in a pretty cool season of life. And so, Chip, man, it is so cool to have you on, and really excited about the conversation we're going to have, bro.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for inviting me. And like you said, I just love Discipleship.org. I love what God continues to do through so many leaders that are connected in that network. And it's just a privilege to have a discussion together.
Yeah, bro. Well, dude, tell us about, I'm sure it perks some of our listeners' ears on what do you mean he's working with the Tennessee Titans, right? So tell us about this new season, man. Like what does God have you doing, and what role are you playing right now with, for those that may not be aware of, national football. So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but what's the role that you're playing right now, bro?
Well, what's so cool is God uses us where we are and uses our gifts and talents and abilities. And my ministry, what I've tried to do through the years is tell people wherever God places you, that's where He wants you to go and make disciples, And for me, all these years since I was 9 years old, football has been my main mission field, whether I knew it or not at 9 years old, But
Right.
there's a backstory that I'll get to in a moment that connects to why the Titans, how that worked. But as far as what I'm doing right now is I serve as the chaplain of the Tennessee Titans, but that's packaged within the work that I've been hired to do, which is called team development.
Okay.
And so I work with our captains, I work with our leaders, I work with the coaches on developing culture, messaging for the guys to keep us together, to certainly be a team that we hope will compete for championships, And so I do leadership training, mindset training, help our guys understand what it means to maximize their potential mentally, emotionally. But then what I get to do is I get to serve as the chaplain for those guys that want that. Of course, that's not a mandatory space. That's an optional space for the guys. And it's just amazing what God's doing, even in professional sports, where these players show up and they're hungry for the word because they have been discipled, whether in college or they're hitting that time in their lives where they're going, I need to probably take my life a little more seriously. I'm thinking about getting married. I'm having kids.
Yeah.
I want to do good with my money. And I get to just be available and say, okay, let me show you what Jesus says about those things right where you are, and treat them just as people, not really as professional athletes with a ton of money and all that talent. Just treat them like people, just like any of us that are trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
And so it's really an awesome opportunity God's given us. And I see it as my primary mission field.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. And it's cool that you get not only, because I've had buddies that have done, maybe, they're a chaplain for a D1 football team or a D1 basketball team or something like that. Or I've got a friend here in Indianapolis that's done a little chaplaincy for either the Pacers or the Colts or whatever. But the reality is a lot of times they're only chaplain, and they only come in when they need some sort of spiritual direction, or somebody's there who just wants to talk about that part of their lives. But the cool thing that you've got going on, Chip, is not only are you able to be chaplain, but you're also helping shape the culture of the team and of the staff and things like that, which is awesome. And honestly, I think it translates really well into the church world. I mean, a lot of us are trying to shape culture within a church atmosphere, and you're trying to shape culture within a professional, football team, the team, the staff, the culture there. And so what are some things that you're learning as you're trying to shape culture there and things like that on, that could potentially translate into the church world, into the disciple making world? Here at D.org, that like we're really passionate about trying to help churches shape a disciple making culture within their churches. And it sounds like you're trying to shape an incredible culture there with the Titans. And so what are some things that you think could cross over?
Yeah, for me, what I have learned more than anything else is that leaders have to be the ones that shape culture.
Hmm.
And so if I'm going to serve the Tennessee Titans best, I've got to invest in our leaders.
Hmm.
And that begins with our president, our general manager, uh, to our head coach, and then our captains. And so I spend my days thinking about how can I serve them. And my personal code for my life is I help leaders win. That's what I do.
That's awesome.
And so I'm thinking, okay, how can I help him win? How can I help her win? And that does work in the church world. I've spent years as a vocational minister as well, campus minister, discipleship minister, and and it doesn't matter what group of people that you're working with. You know, scripturally speaking, you go back, you see God worked with the leader,
Hmm.
and the leader had to own the principles first. The leader had to step into what God had called them to do and who they are to be. And then out of that, then culture is developed through the group. Yeah, what I do is I spend time one on one with those leaders, and I hear them where they are, and I see them as people, not as titles. And I think it's really important, Josh, that we look at our pastors, our church leaders, elders as unique individuals who
Hmm.
God has put in this space for a reason at this time, in this season, and not necessarily put them in a box of how everybody else does it. I'm wondering, like somebody maybe listening and thinking, I'm from this small church or I'm from this big church, and it really is different for that season of life where they are. The principles might be the same, but God called them to be shepherds at this time, and so that's the way I look at it: is okay, this guy who's our president, who's our general manager, head coach. I think, how can I help them maximize their gifts and talents and abilities?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
That's
good.
where I start.
Yeah, that's great, man. Because I mean, when you look throughout biblical history, even the way that God raised up leaders, even in the Old Testament and then the New Testament, with how Jesus developed and called, and then the Holy Spirit, how He set people apart. The reality is, it was very unique to every individual based upon where they were, what their giftings were, where they were, even geographically, and what time period they were in. And so the fact that you're looking at each of these individuals on the Titans staff and team as, unique individuals that God's created with specific gifts and talents and abilities, and you can meet them in those places and help develop them. I think a lot of times we almost are looking in the church world for like some sort of broad stroke way to develop leaders, or the silver bullet that's going to work on every person. You know what I mean? And so I think that's really key, Chip, what you're saying, especially for anybody listening. Like, man, we've got to meet people where they're at. We've got to meet people the way that God's created them to be, whether that's their personality or their gifting or their skill set or whatever, and then help them become the people that God's really created them to be. And so that's a beautiful thing, bro. What's some ways that what are some are you using any sort of tools or mindset that is helping you take somebody from point A to point B, and or a process in your mind that you're taking people through as you meet them uniquely where they're at? But is there some sort of pathway in your mind of how you're trying to develop them?
Yeah, what's happened is God takes, I guess, just to stay on that theme with myself. I had no idea what God was doing through the years as I began my work as a strength conditioning coach.
Okay.
And the reason I did that in the college ranks was it was my way of reaching people from the inside out on a college campus. And because when I was in college, I'll go ahead and tell you kind of a little bit of the connector story to the Titans. It goes back 20, well, almost 30 years now. When I was in college, the Lord got a hold of me as an evangelist that I didn't know that I could be. But a fellow that discipled me at the time when I was in college just really turned me on to you can impact someone, each person one at a time, just one on one, if you just see them as the mission field. And so I started thinking that way with my teammates, my college football team. I played college ball at Ohio University up in Athens, Ohio. I'm sitting on an airplane going to NC State, and we were playing the Wolfpack that year. First flight I'd ever been on, and we're seated. Mandatory. Here's where you're going to sit, and we didn't get to choose. And this young freshman sits beside me. He's our new kick returner and tailback, and his name's Chad Brinker. And he is from Martins Ferry, Ohio. Evidently, had been going through some stuff personally, working through some things. And he sits down next to me, and we start having a conversation. And he sees a little WWJD bracelet on my wrist
Huh.
because I had just kind of come alive and thought, I want to reach people for Jesus. And I didn't know what I was
Yeah.
doing. And here I'd been praying, God send me one. And this young man sits next to me. We end up studying the Bible there on that plane, continue to do so through the season, and then fast forward now to 30 years, he is the team president of the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
A
Wow.
lot of life has happened since then, right? And a lot of things have
Wow.
happened, but that's how I got my foot in the door for this work, was because he remembered the relationship that we began with. Now, through the years, you got to be equipped and be ready for a position like that. But it started with investing in one person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I tell a story to say, first of all, what happened to me through the years really began at that moment of think about this one person, of who they are and how they have amazing potential. Who knows what God could do
Yeah.
with them? And Chad's a tremendous leader of an organization as a Christian. He's not a vocational minister, but he is serving in the Lord's work by serving other people and
Yeah.
living his faith out loud.
Yeah.
So through the years, what I did was I went ahead and got into strength conditioning. Thought about how could I develop young men, young women as athletes, and then work with them behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then that turned into, through the years, this idea of, well, what if I worked with them, not necessarily with their bodies, but their minds, their hearts. And I was given an opportunity at the university I served at Tennessee Tech University for a number of years to be an instructor on campus in leadership development and personal development, character development. And then I served as the chaplain alongside that with our sports teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's where the curriculum kind of
Yeah.
came about. That's where I started grabbing tools
Yeah.
of how to train leaders. And the truth is, I know this sounds cliche, but I really do base everything on Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and say, okay, is this a line of Scripture? If it is, then it's truth.
Yeah.
And but I did grab some tools here and there. But over time, I've developed my own curriculum where I take our leaders through, and we think about who you are first in your mindset, which
Okay.
then impacts your thinking, then impacts your heart, and
Yeah.
then your heart then produces actions and choices you take, and then those choices produce the results. And
Okay.
so I've worked through that flow. You
Yeah.
got to start with your mind.
Yeah.
You win in your mind long before you see it on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Right.
You win in your mind long before you see it come out in the results. But what most people try to do is they try to change the results. They try to change the numbers by simply taking action rather than coming first. Okay, what am I thinking? What are the principles we're going by? What is the truth that's coming in my heart, my mind? And so that's where we go back to
Yeah.
in principle. So yeah, over time I created that curriculum.
That's great.
Chad reaches out and says, "Hey, we've got a chaplain position open and development position. Would you want to put your name in the hat?" And I came down and interviewed, and little I know, God was preparing me for that all those years.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And the fact that you met him so many years ago, and we're praying just to pour into somebody's life, and it's cool how God works upstream like that, like He's constantly working upstream, guiding our path to help us make the greatest impact for His kingdom possible. And when we're surrendered to that, and when we're open to that, it's incredible what God does, man. It's super cool. I love what you're just saying there, Chip, because I think sometimes, especially in the church world, man, we overcomplicate this. And you've really just the way that you were talking, even in that story, you're really simplifying it to say, man, what would it look like if everybody listening right now just started praying for their next one, like the one person that they're going to pour into, that they're going to lift up, that they're going to help shape into who God's created them to be, and then continue to do that over and over again throughout your life. I mean, and obviously throughout your life, it sounds like God, not just through different seasons, has given you one, but multiple ones that you're pouring into at a time. And when that happens, man, the exponential impact of that, especially when you're pouring into one person and they continue to do it over and over again, is really remarkable, man. And then who knows, those people that you pour into, what they're going to bring back into your life later, the way that the way that it happened with you, man.
Amen. Yeah,
So
amen.
it's super cool to hear. And you'd think, maybe Jesus knew what he was talking about when he said make disciples, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I know you could tell that story over and over and over with your history and missions, just how one person has impacted so many other people.
Yeah,
But it's crazy when you stop and think about that one woman at the well in John 4,
yeah,
how many people she impacted, and Jesus took the time to speak with her. And it seems like from scripture that the disciples walked right past her, and
yeah,
didn't see her, just
yeah,
didn't have their eyes up to see this one person and the potential that she had. And so Jesus did. He saw this woman who had her own stuff she was going through, but he also saw beyond that of what she could do with her influence. And
yeah,
really, that's what leadership is. Leadership is influence. And so I see our leaders, and I know these are high profile leaders in our culture, like head football coaches of the National Football League and
yeah,
presidents, general managers, and professional athletes. But the same is true for anybody else. There's been person after person that I've met that I've gone, wow, look at how many people that one person has impacted. So one of the exercises we do in our training is I say, if you could um, take one person out of your story, if you're writing a book about your life and you took one person out of your story, who would it be that left the biggest hole?
mm,
That so many other things in your life would have been affected if that one person, and most guys usually say, my mom,
yeah,
and it's
right,
true.
yeah,
Mama,
right,
if mama wasn't there, think about how life would have been different, or dad,
yeah,
or that coach, or that teacher. And I think that alone proves that one person can have such a huge impact. And if you put that alongside the Great Commission, that's what Jesus is saying. He's saying, go and make disciples. And then, of course, make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. Um, who knows the impact that
yeah.
one person can have is in front of you.
That's
The,
awesome.
the leader of this church, but the member who that leader is pouring into.
Yeah.
I mean, look out what God can do through His Spirit.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we even look, like you said, the Samaritan woman or whatever, what have you, or even like, I mean, when Saul, who turned into Paul, was radically transformed by Jesus on the road to Damascus. I mean, he went off by himself for a few years, and it was Barnabas who really went hard after him, like chased him down, found him, brought him back to Jerusalem, like brought him to Antioch, where they got sent out from. And the reality is, like, think of the impact, because Barnabas took it upon himself to go hard after one leader that he knew God had a hold of. And the impact that Paul had, not just in the first century, but literally for 2,000 years, the impact through his writings that he's had through the New Testament. And that was Barnabas going after one dude, man, and so the impact that one person can make, if we just pour into them and lift them up and help them become all God's created them to be, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah,
And so, dude, I love your heart. Man, I'm excited, Chip, because I heard you're going to be at our forum in Houston in April. Is that right? You're going to be with us in April?
that's right. Yeah, I'll be there
Okay.
and excited to jump in and serve wherever
Awesome.
we can. Yeah.
That's great, bro. So, yeah, that's that. Our forum, guys, for those of you listening, it's going to be in Houston, Texas in April. You can find out more info at discipleship.org. But Chip, I know also you've got a book coming out soon, and so I'd love to just hit on that. And I know we'll be doing it for those listening. Chip and I will do another podcast later, closer to the book release, so that you can hear more about it. But I'd love to just give a teaser, and if somebody wants to pre-order the book. But what's the book about? What's the title? And yeah, tell us a little bit about it, brother.
Yeah, the book is called Made to Win. You were
Okay.
made to win. Six practices for a life on mission from the life of Jesus. And so, really going along with the theme that we've been saying is the heart of the book is, as an individual who is following Jesus, he sees you as the one that was made to win. And I mean that in a way that means win disciples, of course, but really packaged in your life as fulfilling your greatest potential in his mission. And some people say, well, can I live to my fullest potential and not be a disciple maker? Or can I be a disciple maker and not live to my fullest potential? I think it goes both ways. I think whenever it finally clicked of, if I pour my life into the mission of Jesus, I actually become the person that I was desiring to be all along, you
Yeah.
know? Or if I sit down with guys and gals and we say, okay, what do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? And we start with a vision that they have and goals they have. Eventually, they're going to have to wrestle with the question, well, what does God want that to look like?
Yeah.
And so it works together. And so the kind of the way we say it is fulfilling your potential in his mission is winning. Putting
That's
your
awesome.
life behind Jesus, walking with him, living for him, and loving others. So what we'll do is we're going to offer that book for free for anyone there at the conference, and we're
Wow.
going to talk about it a little bit
Awesome.
there, the concept, because it matches up with disciple making. But within the book itself, uh, like you said, we'll go through some details later, but there are six practices that we see consistently through the life of Jesus. It can be packaged different ways, of course. But other people have packaged it different ways, but in our system, those six skills of Jesus, that if I follow him and his steps and who he is and follow his ways, I will indeed maximize my potential in his mission.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for being so generous, dude, on being willing to offer it to anybody attending the forum. That's it's going to be such a blessing to so many people, man. And so thank you for even being willing to do that. It's a blessing to all the people attending.
Yeah, it's our privilege. We need to give because of what God has given to us. Obviously, we just want to get in the hands of as many people as we can.
Yeah.
Our team with Be One Make One, and those that we've discipled through the years, that material and that resource has just transformed our lives. So we want to help as many people as we can.
That's great, man. And in the show notes, guys, we'll also put a link that if anyone wants to pre-order Chip's book, you'll be able to do that. And if you want a chance, to pick up a free copy, then come to the forum in April in Houston. You'll have, the option to grab one of those from, for free, a printed copy at the forum. And if you want to meet Chip and hang out with him a little bit and shake the hand of the Titans chaplain, then you could do that. But Chip, I'd say we've got, a few more minutes left here on this episode. Man, if you could leave, the leaders today or the people listening with something to really walk away with and something to really think about, what would you leave them with as we kind of begin to close up?
Yeah, I guess we ought to just stay on the same theme. If you're not already, start every day praying, Lord, send me one. Just
Hmm.
send me one. And look out what he's going to do as you pray that prayer. And when he sends one, then we think about investing in that one to help that one go and make another. And if you continue to have that heart and that mindset, I don't have any doubt God's going to grow your influence in his kingdom. He's going to grow the church where you are. He's going to grow your leadership. And you'll find all the tools and resources you need when you have that heart. when people ask me, okay, what about this curriculum, this study, whenever you guys did it this way, and I'm always like, hey, here's the things that work for us, just like the book that we wrote.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a resource that works for us. But the truth is, when you get your feet in the mission and you're saying, okay, how can I help this one person? God gives you everything you need to
Yeah.
do that work, and it
Yep.
might look a little different than the way I do it, but we're moving in the same direction.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That's
pray that
great.
prayer every day. Lord, send me just one,
Yeah.
and let's watch God do His thing.
Yeah, dude, that's beautiful, Chip. If people wanted to follow you or get to know more about you, Chip, or hear even more about Be One Make One or your work with the Titans or what have you, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, be1makeone.org, and the one is the number one.
Okay.
So you can reach out to us there, and then certainly my email's there, but I'm also able to be reached through the Titans through our website there, and love to connect to any leaders out there to help and resource them the best
Yeah.
way I can.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you, Chip. And honestly, for everybody listening, I think some of the big takeaways, guys, today is really what I've heard in you, man, is a very deep dedication to what I would just call intentionality. Like really the even the challenge you gave us at the end, like every day, just wake up and say, God, send me one that I can pour into, that I can invest in, and that intentional focus of raising up men and women, raising up leaders, even your intentionality of saying, man, could I be a strength coach at a college so that I could then pour in not only to people physically but also into their mind, their heart, their character, and the intentionality of doing that and just putting yourself out there in places that God will give you opportunities, right? And so, friends, as you're thinking through your disciple making journey, man, let's learn from Chip on his intentionality, his heart around praying for one more, and really putting ourselves in positions to use the gifts and abilities God's given us as his disciples and to use those out in the world to put ourselves in situations where we can really be around people who are far from God, who are hurting, who are broken, or who just need a mentor in their life in this season, and to put ourselves out there intentionally to make sure that we're being disciples who make disciples. And so, Chip, thank you, dude, for that intentionality. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for even that vision around being one and making one. I mean, honestly, I think if every single Christian in our nation, man, could just pick up that vision that I'm going to be a disciple who makes disciples, dude, we would saturate not only America but the nations around the world with the gospel if every one of us just took up that heartbeat and that vision. And so, thanks for casting it so clear. Thanks for the work that you're doing, bro. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us a little bit today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Love you guys, and excited for everybody to continue to stay in that mission.
Hey, amen, bro. And so if you want to learn more, guys, check us out at discipleship.org. Come to the forum in April. We'd love to have you. And then check out the show notes for the link to Chip's new book so that you can pre-order that now. But guys, until next time, like Chip said, let's be a disciple who makes disciples, and let's do it until our nation and the nations around the world are saturated with the gospel. We love y'all, and we'll see you next time.